Join us for lively discussion about the A-State community. Each week, we'll meet with a variety of faculty, staff, and students to discuss all things Arkansas State University. Live from the ASU-TV studios in the School of Media and Journalism, this is A-State Connections. And hello, everyone. Welcome to A-State Connections on ASU-TV. I'm Jonathan Reeves, an academic advisor at Arkansas State University. What goes into marketing and communications at a university? Well, I'm glad you asked. That's the subject of today's A-State Connections. My guest today is Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at Arkansas State University, Todd Clark. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate you.
Sure. Happy to be here.
Welcome to A-State Connections. And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm originally from Blytheville, proud graduate of Blytheville High School.
Yeah. Go Chickasaws.
That's right. Came to A-State as a first-generation college student. Received a great scholarship from here. I told you I'd tell you a funny story about just how first-generation student I was. When I came up for new student orientation, I had always been obsessed with computers and technology. And in NSO, I met a guy, and I actually forgot his name, but he was also a computer science major, which is what I wanted to study at the time. And I was lost, had no idea what I was doing, and I copied his schedule verbatim, okay? So first day of class, we show up, and hey, man, I remember you from NSO, you know? And it was first class, and then second class, third class, fourth class, fifth class. And we finally realized that our schedule was that exact same. And he's like, man, that's crazy how that would happen. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty crazy. But yeah, I was a first-generation college student, came to A-State. I started computer science, moved to management information systems, graduated in 2004, and I currently live here in Jonesboro, my wife Melanie, and we have two kids, Millie and Ross. They're ages 9 and 10.
Fantastic. Well, and so what was it about Arkansas State that attracted you, that you wanted to come and then also still work at Arkansas State?
Sure. So I was attracted here for the scholarship. I did really well in high school and had a great scholarship, but also when I got to campus, it just felt home. It just felt like this is where I belonged. I have great family support system in Jonesboro, and it just really made sense. So after graduation, I graduated, like I said, in 2004. I moved to Little Rock to be closer to my girlfriend, who's now my wife. She transferred to Central Arkansas to get her OT degree. This is pre-ASU having OT.
Right.
And so I moved to Little Rock, got a great job at a association management consulting firm, and I was their only IT person, did network, website, database, user support, and honestly had a great time, got to travel, learned so much. Well, when she finished her degree, she wanted to move back to Jonesboro. This is home for her. She's got a big family here as well. And so I was able to kind of transition from that association management experience that I had gained in Little Rock to the ASU Alumni Association here at ASU. And so Beth Smith hired me in 2006 to run events and affinity partnerships for the Alumni Association. And so I was in charge of the student alumni chapter and tailgates and other kind of special events for A-State in 2006.
And now you're the Chief Communications and Marketing Officer, which is kind of interesting in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's an interesting transition from planning tailgates and alumni fun to Chief Marketing Communications Officer. The gateway that really brought me over to marketing communications was the university website. So in 2008, the university was on the brink of a website overhaul, redesign, and after an intense 2-year term as kind of the only IT person in a small shop in Little Rock, I kind of suppressed that IT background a little bit on campus. And after a couple years, I was outed that I'd had this experience in redesigning websites, and they asked me to, or they offered me the position or an opportunity to move from alumni to marketing communications and lead the website overhaul project. And so I transitioned to marketing and communications in 2008 and started leading that process. And it ended up being the current website we have now, which is way past its lifespan, and a new one is coming. But that's what really was my gateway into marketing and communications, was that the website and the technology behind it.
And how long does it take to do an overhaul of a website like that?
Usually for a complex website, like a university website, you're looking at a 12 to 18 month time period. A lot of people know how deep our website can go, but when we migrated we ended up launching the current website we have now in 2012. We had 40,000 pages.
40,000.
Yeah, and when we launched, we cut that number in half. I kind of teased this a little bit. We are currently in the process of redesigning and redeveloping the current university website, which I'm involved in again, and I would love that number to go down even further. And you have to understand, 40,000 pages, this was user-generated web. I mean, Facebook wasn't a thing, and so a lot of the content now that a college or department would put on their website now can be put on social media. So there's much less information.
Sure.
And our job is to really help pare that down to get what's the critical information that students need to know, faculty need to know, prospective students need to know.
So when you're taking a look at a possible overhaul of the A-State's website, in your mind, how would a new website be either more user-friendly or, maybe what would go into the process? What would you like to see the new website have in it that the current one does not?
Well, the main thing is that the new website is 100% user-focused. The homepage will be focused on telling the story of A-State, which is part of why we're here today to talk about that role. A much simpler content architecture, how information is organized on the website has been overhauled. We've partnered with an external agency to help bring some fresh eyes to our content and just kind of help us reimagine what that might look like.
Do you know when the new website might be coming?
We're still in the project phase. There is some development it's currently underway with coding and things like that. Our target is to launch spring 25.
Wow.
So
it's coming up quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. So with something like that, you said story is so important. You're telling the story in that. And so you can tell stories in many different ways. What would be the way of being able to tell A-State story on a website?
So I really look at my role as Chief Marketing Communications Officer in three primary ways. And the first way, and I actually have a big thing in my office that says storyteller. Yeah. And my role is to tell the A-State story, and that is through the students that are on our campus, the success of our alumni, the groundbreaking research that happens. It's how A-State makes this community better. And so, to me, the A-State story is that it's a university that offers the best of both worlds. You have the resources and opportunities of a major research institution, a national university, but also the small, kind of close-knit community feel where every person feels valued, they're not lost in the crowd, and are supported through their college journey.
Yeah, belonging is a huge thing, making sure everybody has a place, and knowing that they do have a place here at Arkansas State for sure. How do you brand the university? What goes into university branding, and when do you know, I'm sorry, this is a multi-part question, but what goes into branding of the university, and how do you know when you need to start, making it fresher, and if that makes sense?
Sure. So I believe that you really, as an institution, and this is both a university and a company or a product, you don't necessarily define your brand. Your brand is what people think when they hear of your company or your organization or your university. So, for instance, if I said Apple, like what comes to mind? Well, it's going to be innovation, slick design, maybe Steve Jobs. You might think of some of their products. And so very similar to that is the university brand. So when you hear the words Arkansas State University, what comes to mind? And then my job is to take our current brand, and honestly, I feel like your brand, especially A-State's brand, is interpreted in different different parts of the state, right? The A-State brand may mean something in Northeast Arkansas, but what does it mean in Central Arkansas? What does it mean in Northwest Arkansas? What does it mean in our region or the country? And so my job is to take our aspirational brand, how we want people to perceive A-State, and the way they do perceive A-State, and through consistent messaging kind of close that gap. You know, if you had a brand assumption about our university that there's nothing to do here, but you follow us on social media and you see the constant student activity, the football games, the things downtown, silent discos, glow parties, community fairs, slowly over time, your perception that there's nothing to do at A-State would shift in the direction that we want it to go, right? Because we do want to highlight that there's plenty to do here.
And that can be a natural transition to lead to recruitment and bringing more students in.
Yeah, everything that we push out, there's an underlying brand scheme there to try to, again, we're influencing your brand perception of the university.
Yeah. Well, something has been working by way of not only just the marketing and the branding and all that, and also work from many people in many different departments, because we've had record enrollment for this year, which is huge. Over 16,000 students coming in.
Yes, it's easy to be a storyteller at A-State when everything is good news, right?
Yeah.
That really is a testament to the great leadership we have on campus. The record enrollment is huge. I mean, so Chancellor Shields has kind of instituted an enrollment management standing group, and we meet every week we look at the numbers every day. We talk about our strategies. We talk about removing hurdles for students that are having problems registering or financial holds, things like that. We really try to streamline the registration process and wrap our heads around the marketing and recruitment. And breaking down, you know, we talked earlier about off camera about silos on campuses and complex organizations, but those groups being able to break down those silos for a common goal has been incredible to be a part of, and it's a great team effort for the enrollment. To see the number jump from 14,900 to 16,600 something was just a huge accomplishment.
Yep. And you know, there's a long way to go too, and but I mean, it's definitely in the right direction for sure.
Absolutely.
So that's good. Well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about your team.
Okay.
And the people that work with you, and I know that you can't do it by yourself. You do it with a lot of very talented people. We'll talk about that coming up next. Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at Arkansas State University, Todd Clark, joins me here on A-State Connections. We will take a break. We'll be right back after this.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
Red Wolf Radio is a student-led organization at Arkansas State University wanting to hear your takes on pop culture, music, the news, and college life. Just about anything you can think of. Located in the Education and Communications building on campus, we are always looking for more volunteers. So if you're an Arkansas State University student, no matter the major, and this is something that interests you, shoot us an email at redwolfradio@astate.edu. That's redwolfradio@astate.edu. Let them hear you howl.
Live from the ASU-TV studios in the School of Media and Journalism, this is A-State Connections. And welcome back to A-State Connections on ASU-TV. I'm Jonathan Reeves, and today we're continuing our conversation with Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at Arkansas State University, Todd Clark. Todd, thanks. We're going to have you back on a more regular basis, but we appreciate you joining us here today.
Sure, absolutely.
Now, as we said before we went to the break, obviously you don't do this by yourself. You've got a very talented team of people that are helping you in many different assets. Kind of tell us about the people who are working with you in this.
Sure, absolutely. So I would say the main areas that fall under university marketing and communication would be our publications and creative services team.
Yeah.
And so those are your graphic designers, extremely talented, They're actually the team that designed the Red Wolf logo that we all know and love. And so those guys have just such great creative energy. Our university communications and media relations team, they handle all the news and press releases that go out from A-State. We help curate things like the calendar, Inside A-State, the employee newsletter, the daily digest that goes out every day. And then we have our digital creative, which is photography, videography, websites, social media. And so those are kind of and digital signage, those are kind of the areas that make up my division.
How do you keep it all straight? That's and all that.
With really talented people.
Yeah, of course.
We are so fortunate on our team to have people that have been in roles for so long. And it's humbling for me as someone like who's been a part of the team for 16 years to come up and now kind of lead the people that have been my colleagues for so long. But you think about, Mark Reeves has been at A-State 35 years, Tom Moore pushing 40 years, Heath Kelly 22 years, Mary Melton 19 years, and it keeps going down to 10 years. Like it's very rare that you find a core team that's been together that long, and they are really good at what they do, and it's an honor to lead that group.
And of course, love to Gina Bowman,
absolutely,
who you recently lost.
Yes, yeah. Gina was again a 40-year employee at A-State, and had a great career in athletics, and we love having her on our team as well.
Absolutely. So I want to talk about what are some of the things that you would describe as some of the challenging parts of the job that you do. I know there's a lot of areas that you're working in, but what would be some of the challenges?
Sure. So we briefly mentioned earlier, breaking down the institutional silos, and we've done a good job at that. The information, I feel like, is flowing more now than ever before in terms of internal communication. And the other big challenge is increasing A-State's exposure outside of Northeast Arkansas. Jonesboro is not necessarily a major population hub of our state, and so we want people in Little Rock. I mean, if you think about the state, there are two major population hubs. You have Central Arkansas and Northwest Arkansas, and just sheer terms of volume of people that live there. And so really trying to increase our exposure in those areas. We want to recruit there. We want to bring in Red Wolves from there, and our alums live there, and we want them to be proud alums and kind of plant their flag. And so I'll tell you how we tackle that is that we try harder. When a journalist in Little Rock or Northwest Arkansas covers A-State, we always send them a note. Hey, really appreciate your coverage. We appreciate you. We do things like, actually the Arkansas Press Association had their annual convention at the embassy here on campus.
They did, yeah.
We proactively reached out to them and said, hey, we see you're coming to town. We'd love to roll out the red carpet. We hosted a reception kind of happy hour networking type thing in the football tower for them free of charge, just to roll out the red carpet, welcome them to Jonesboro, expose them to some parts of the university. And so that really is our go-to. When I was a part of the Leadership Arkansas class 14, best class, but the latest class came here as part of their tour around the state, and we welcomed them to campus. They were supposed to meet with Coach Jones for 5 minutes, and he came into the room, engaged them, talked with them, and ended up staying about 40 minutes. And not only were the attendees, which are upcoming leaders around the state, blown away at the personable treatment they received at A-State, the person that coordinates that program was like, we wouldn't get this kind of treatment anywhere else, right? Where the head football coach comes into the room, takes each question, and the conversation quickly veered from football and went to, advice for raising teenagers, right? Because he's constantly recruiting teenagers and things like the dangers of vaping. I mean, he talked with them about whatever they wanted to talk about. And I think that's really the A-State difference, is that we try harder and we care more.
And that has to be probably some of the rewarding parts of the job, too, when you're able to see those parts of it.
Yeah, it really is. The most rewarding parts of this job are, telling the good news of my own alma mater, my own community where I was born and raised, and elevating Northeast Arkansas. And also, you know, when you've worked here so long, it's so rewarding, and I know you've experienced this too. When you see high school kids come in, there are I can name you multiple students that I met as a bright-eyed high school senior taking a campus visit that have gone on to be leaders in the community, senior vice presidents. They've won Emerging Young Alumni Awards. They've married people that they met on campus and have kids, and then they bring their families back to A-State. That, to me, that's so rewarding. I joke that, you know, they've gone on to be so successful and we're still here. But, you know, the reality is it is a testament to the education that we provide and the graduates we produce.
Well, and y'all are successful too. I mean, being able to help with and that all goes into the communication and marketing of that. I wanted to ask about when it comes to going back to storytelling and telling those stories and marketing and that, how does communication and marketing work in tandem together to be able to put together those kinds of messages that you're wanting to create?
Yeah, I would say there is underlying marketing in every bit of communication that we do. Whether it's a press release, whether it's even when it's a message to the campus community about closing for snow or inclement weather, right? There's an element of marketing in all of those things. A perfect example is we were talking before the show about a person that's coming onto campus in a relatively new position to support some of the work that one of our colleges is doing. And one of our statewide publications found out about it and wanted to do a special story on her. And she was hesitant and wanted to really push them doing an overall story on the university instead, you know, get out of the spotlight, which is noble. But what I told her was, listen, by highlighting you and your background and your experience and your expertise and how you're going to enhance the education we provide here and support our students, that trickles down to A-State, right? It looks great on A-State that you chose to come here over other opportunities. You know, other things like, you know, again, I mentioned inclement weather closings. I mean, there's an underlying marketing message there that we care about our students and we want to keep them safe. You know, last week we darkened the tower at the loss of one of our first-year students,
Right.
Cash Flanagan.
Right.
And there's a message there that he may have only been a student here for a couple weeks, but it doesn't matter if you've been here 2 days or 40 years. When you choose us, we choose you. And that, you know, every single person matters, and the institution is going to mourn everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a good message there for sure. And blessings to that family for sure. So before we let you run, we appreciate you being here today. Is there anything else you would like to add before we let you run today?
I just want to say that I really appreciate the work that you do, both in their academic advisor role to kind of guide students to graduation, but also through this program. The students that are working behind the camera here and the people in the control room, again, telling that great story of A-State, highlighting the stories that need to be told here. I just really appreciate the work that ASU-TV does, KSU, Red Wolf Radio, and so I'm really appreciative of the work you guys do to help us tell the story.
Well, and also with that, when you have instructors who help telling their stories and they may not realize it, it's really going back to when you have publications, and we've got tons of research and research grants and other things, international research that's going on. Mm-hmm. And when that goes back and other newspapers are covering it and all that other stuff's going on, it ties back to Arkansas State. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That really is.
Exactly.
You know, and we could spend another half hour talking about all the research, but we don't have that time. But we appreciate you so much for being here today.
Sure. Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this edition of A-State Connections here on ASU-TV. I do want to thank my guest today, Todd Clark, for joining me. Also want to thank Instructor of Creative Media Production, Galen Perkins, and his amazing students in Video Production 1 who are behind the scenes running the show today, always doing a fantastic job. Thanks to broadcast engineer Timmy Arquette and graduate assistant Sujita Karki for their help on the show as well. Thanks for joining us. So long, everyone. Have a great day.